Hello and welcome back to another video where today I'm going to show you how to make a simple soft body animation. So the first thing we're going to do, if you don't have a default cube already, is to add one. If you do, leave it there. We're then going to press and then Z to scale it down on the Z axis. And then we're going to press G and Y to move it along the Y axis. We're then going to scale it along the X to make it look like the first step of the steps. We're then going to go Shift D to duplicate this. And then we're going to also press Shift X, which will mean we can move it on the Y and Z axes only without affecting the X. And we're going to put that in the cubes there to make it look like steps. We're then going to press Control Shift. We're then going to just press Shift D to duplicate this again. We're then going to go Shift X, and we're going to move it back in there to make another step. I'm going to do this one more time. So click on it, Shift Duplicate, Shift X, and move it up. So these are it's going to be the stairs our soft body is going to go along. We're then going to go Shift A to add a plane, press G, Z to move it down slightly, and then we're going to scale this out. So now the next thing we're going to want to do is make our soft body. So we're going to go to Shift A, we're going to go to Mesh, and we're going to go to UV Cylinder. Something that might help you see what you're doing is to click on the plane and click on the eye, just so it's out of the way. We're now going to click on this, we're going to press G, we're then going to also press Shift X again, and we're going to move it on top of the top step. If you want to, you can move it down a bit, and scale it down if you want to. And this is going to be what's going to roll down our stairs. Now we're going to keep clicking on the spear, and we're going to go down to the Physics tab, and we're going to click on Soft Body. The first thing we're going to have to do is unclick Goal, which means it can move. We're going to click on Cache. No, and then we're going to close back Cache again. We're going to click on Edges, and we're going to enable Stiffness. This will just pick how stiff it is, or will it fall through itself. This can be tweaked and changed when you start learning how soft bodies work, but to start off with, I'm just going to say turn it on. We're also going to enable self-collision, and we're going to increase bending, just up to 1, but we're just going to increase that because I found it makes it just look a bit nicer. The next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to make it so it can't fall through these cubes. The way we're going to do that is we're just going to click on them all, and we're going to click on collision. Once we've clicked on collision, we're not going to do anything. You are going to have to do this on all of them. There we go. So we've got collision on all of these objects. The other thing you can do is hover over them and then press Ctrl J to join them to one object, and then you only have to do it once. So if we click back on the cylinder and we go to Cache and we press Bake, but first we need to make sure we do set this to be 120 frames. The reason we're doing this is just that makes it short enough that you can see that you've learned something without making it so long it takes hours to render and you realize you've made a mistake and then you have to re-waste hours. So we're going to keep it 120. And if we press space now, it'll be a bit buffery, but you can sort of see it becoming like a soft body. So we're going to press space again quickly, re-enable to pause it, re-enable the plane, and make sure we put a collision on the plane. And the other thing we're going to do is, so it doesn't look so cubish, we're going to right click on the spear, and we're going to right click Shade Smooth. And now there are a few other things that we want to do before the end of this, but once we're happy with roughly how it looks in the animation, we're just going to go click on our spear, and we're going to click Bake. What the baking does, it will turn all of the information into the final instructions of how it will move. As you can see, this is baking faster than it would for a fluid simulation, but it still takes a bit of time. Depending on how powerful your computer is, will depend on how long this will take. For me, it's just taking a couple of seconds, as you can see. Some people on laptops, it may take 5-10 minutes. Anyway, so if we now press play, you can see it's less buffery and it is working quite nicely. If you for some reason need to change something, you are going to have to press delete bake and then rebake it. So if you decided you suddenly want to increase your frame, so let's say to 130, you then would have to delete it or press update tool. There, you would have to go to right frame and then you are going to have to delete your bake and then rebake it if you ended up having to change a setting. It's an annoying thing, but if you have to change something, you are going to have to rebake it. The next thing you're going to need to do is make sure you have a HDRI installed. If you have a favorite HDRI, which is a lighting thing for our final render, go ahead and use that. If you don't, there'll be a link to download one in the description. The other thing, so I will have that down in the description. I get all of my HDRIs from HDRI Haven. Just realised I didn't set that end frame to the same as here. So bake. And then once they've downloaded, if you want to look through them and pick your own one, they will do the same sort of thing. The next step, once this is finished baking, we'll be working on lighting. Lighting is one of the biggest things to make renders look good. So we can get on with that now. The first thing we're going to want to do is give our piece of jelly a bit of colour. So we're going to rewind this, and we're going to go to look dev mode or viewport shading. So that will be this one here. And as you can see, everything's a bright white. Nothing will be this bright at the end. But the first thing we're going to want to do is give our ball a different colour to everything else. So we're going to click on it, and then going to go down to materials, new materials, and I'm going to give it a nice, I don't know, I think I might give it a nice blue, and then we're going to make it slightly transparent. So we will decrease the roughness to make it slightly shiny, and then increase the transmission by a bit, and then just change the settings to make it how you like it. If you want to make it increase parts, decrease settings, all of this will just change the colour and the look. So it's completely up to you with what it comes out with, and if you want it to be shinier, if you want it to be basically see-through. So that slightly see-through blue is what I'm going to go with. I'm now going to click on this stair object. If they're all individual steps, you're going to have to do them all individually. I'm going to press new, and I'm going to set them to be red stairs. And I'm going to click on the floor, press new, and I'm going to set the floor to be a black to make everything stand out. I'm then going to go shift duplicate, so shift D. I'm then going to press R to rotate it, and I want to rotate it along the Y axis, so I'm going to press Y, and then type in 90. I'm then going to press G, Z, and move it back. This is just to give it a nice backing. I'm now going to click on the camera. I'm going to press N. I'm going to click on View, and lock camera to view. I'm now going to move this round to line up our camera to where the final animation will be. So there we are. And if we now go onto the render viewport mode here, which gives us a rough idea what it will look like, you can see there is lighting. If you're not happy with it, this is where we're going to change it. First things first is to click on the light here. You can move it around a bit to where you're happy with it. I'm going to move it out a bit and then move it up. The other thing you can do is use the HDRI you installed earlier by clicking on World Properties, Color, Environment Texture, or make everything look pinkish. Don't worry about that. We're now going to press Open, go to wherever you downloaded it. So I have obviously forgotten to download it again. Never mind, here it is. And then as you can see, it's sort of, you may see that there's this background behind it, which is why we put this wall here. All this does, if it will give it a HDRI will give you ambient lighting settings that will get fed in. If you have such a shiny material here, you can see it sort of gets reflected. If you're not happy with this and you would like to go back to just color, you can press Ctrl Z to undo what you've just done. Or, if you've done so much you can't go to Ctrl Z anymore, so let me put that back quickly. There we go, it's back. You can just click on the surface, so click on background, and then you can just click remove. And then it goes back to just being color. So there we go. You will have to unclick use nodes, so it goes back to the color option, and then you can change the color to whatever you want the ambient lighting to be. So just pick your favorite out of that. The next thing we're going to want to do is find a file where we will want to save our final animation to. So we're going to go to Output Properties. If you want to change the side of your camera, you can do it here in the resolution. Most default social medias use 1080 by 1080, so it's a square. So if you would like to use that resolution, you change it here. We're then going to change our Output tab, so you're going to click on the folder here. You're then going to click where you would like the final video to be saved. You're going to change the file format from PNG to FFmpeg video. You're going to click on encoding, change it to MP4, and then you're going to now go to File, Render Animation. This may take a few minutes, if not a bit longer. This might take some people half an hour, so it all depends on how powerful your computer is. I'll put this at the end of the video once it is done. So I will see you at the end of the video with the final animation. See you in a bit. Bye. Bye.